So I want to talk about why I think I ended up here, and why I believe that if I can do this, I genuinely think anyone else can do this in the world. Because yeah, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I grew up pretty well, right? Like I've obviously had a lot of opportunities in my life, but I think without the perspective shifts and some other decisions that I made in my life, it wouldn't have really mattered what I was given or where I was born, because I needed to figure it out for myself to actually get here. And honestly, like if I went back, 5, 6, 7 years now, I've literally gone from, an actual, degenerate drugs, drinking, massive stoner to a 6-figure remote closer for Imperium Acquisition, arguably one of the biggest courses on the internet right now and one of the best companies doing it. And I often kind of catch myself and I really think like, how did I do this? How did I get here? What did I do to deserve this? And I feel like that, what did I do to deserve this? That question is kind of a stupid question because no one deserves anything. Like you're not promised anything in this life. And it really just comes down to the choices and decisions you make. So I'll break it down, right? Like where I grew up, I grew in a really nice area in Western Australia, very nice, like kind of upper middle class family. I went to a private school. I had all these opportunities. I went and played ice hockey in Canada. I competed in national teams. I was into my sport. I went to one of the best schools where I'm from. Yet when I turned 18 and left school, I immediately disintegrated into smoking weed every day, doing drugs, drinking, fighting, because I didn't feel worthy of the things I was given, and I didn't feel like I deserved anything, and I still felt like a loser despite all the opportunities that were staring me in the face. Yeah, I got into university and I was studying finance, but I didn't feel like I was enough, or I hated myself, or something in me just didn't really feel like worthy of anything, and I just immediately turned to doing drugs. And I think most people that are kind of struggling with something, or look, obviously there's a part of just like doing drugs, hanging out with your friends, drinking, partying, that is just kind of fun. But I'm of the opinion that the fun is always there to disguise something else, especially for me and the amount that I was doing it. Like I was smoking weed every single day for like 2 years. Like I was like getting up in the mornings and smoking weed. I was always fortunate enough to be able to hold a job and things like that. And I lived at home fine. But I was on a path nowhere good. I nearly failed out of university in my first semester. I deferred after that and didn't really want to go back. And I think the underlying issue was just like, I didn't know where I was going, what I wanted, or who I was. I was having like a real big identity crisis in terms of like what I wanted in life. Because when I was younger, I always wanted to be a professional athlete. That's all I cared about. And obviously, that's reserved for very, very few people. And you can probably see me, I don't have the genetics. I wasn't blessed with those genetics to be that professional athlete. I had the work ethic in this one very specific area of my life. And when I finished school, that got taken away from me. I just crumbled. And I crumbled into really bad habits. And I would literally leave my friends' houses or wherever we were smoking or whatever for that night. This is just weeknights. And it's all fun. I've always kind of been, the good times. I'm kind of funny, in the social situation, always that guy who's like, loud, making jokes. Everyone's having a good time. And I'd get in my car, drive home, and there was this one stretch of road down, it's called Sterling Highway. And I just remember countless nights just driving home, just like in tears. Just so sad, so miserable, so upset. And I was like, this might just be it for me. And I've always been kind of good at things, but I'd never really been great at anything. And it just ate away at me. It just chewed me up inside. And I'm sure that, I'm pretty positive that most people feel like this. From my perspective, I really believe that a lot of people feel like they're built for more, but their life doesn't reflect it, and the sadness and the pain that they're dealing with becomes too much, and they just accept the reality for what it is and just do what everyone else does. And I think the one thing that I had inside of me that allowed me to kind of push past that was the ability to not care what other people thought of me and to be okay with being different. That was the one thing. I was okay with being ostracized. I was okay with being different. Because during this period of 2 years where I was really going down a bad road, people did not like me. In my, kind of community of friends, ex-girlfriends, her friends, they hated me, like genuinely, because I was a bad guy. I acted how I thought a bad guy should acted because I thought I was a bad guy. And that really destroyed a lot of things in my life. And it was pretty dicey for a couple of years, honestly. Like mum would be banging on my door, like trying to get me out of bed to go to university. And I'd just be like, get fucked, And it was just crazy. Like if you zoomed out of where I was in the world and how I was acting in that space, you would just think he's an idiot. He's pissing it all away. But I genuinely didn't care, because I was just covering up the pain that I was going through with all this other stuff. And this really big life-changing event happened to me where I was getting into lots of fights, and finally it kind of came around and bit me on the bum, and I got absolutely the shit kicked out of me. I got beat up really bad. I had all these scratches and cuts all over my back, and I got an infection. And I remember just lying in bed one day, really, really sick from this infection, just looking around and being like, and this is not, I might have said this once before, but this is not a dig at my friends or anything, but no one was there to help me. Not a single person, obviously my mum and my parents, but no one cared. And I remember sitting in that room thinking, well, if no one cares about me, then I need to be the only person that cares about myself. And I need to be okay with being different, because I am, if I want to be. And I just remember, like, literally the next day I went completely sober. I quit everything, like cold turkey. And I used to smoke cigarettes daily. I used to smoke weed daily. I used to do drugs on the weekend. I used to drink all the time. And I went cold turkey. And it was so difficult because I lost a lot of close relationships and friendships immediately, which in my opinion is kind of good because you really see who your true friends are. But I lost like basically all of my friends. I not lost them, but I just never saw them. And it was really hard, but I was okay with being different. And I joined a gym, and in my opinion, the number one thing that has gotten me here now is that I'm okay with being different, but the ability to throw myself into something 100%. I truly believe that this isn't a Hormozi quote, but I truly believe that you need to let your other people's dreams for you die, for your dreams to kind of exceed and excel in life. And I think that's so true, because all my friends and family, they all had this idea that I was gonna go do my 9 to 5, go be in finance, get drinks on a Friday night, party on a Saturday, chill on a Sunday, and then go back to work. And nothing scared me more than that. And the pain of the future reality that I was heading down was so much greater than the pain that I felt about myself, that it forced me to make a change. And I didn't know any of this at the time. It was just like this instinct that I had. And if I can make that decision, if you're sitting on the other side of this, watching this video, and you feel like you are kind of stuck in this box, if I can make the decision, so can you. I just want this to give someone else confidence that if I can do it, so can you. And I'm going to say that a couple of times because I truly believe that. So I dived into the gym and I really, really threw myself into something. It doesn't have to be an SMMA right now. It doesn't have to be a business. It doesn't even have to be the gym. Just find something that you are passionate about that will be a positive skill in your life, and throw yourself into it 100%, and do not care about the other people and their opinions of you throwing yourself into that. And that is what is going to be the biggest needle mover for you. So I started doing CrossFit, I started doing weightlifting, I threw myself back into that, and I did nothing else. And I started to develop skills within myself, Discipline, I think that's a skill. Schedule, holding a schedule, eating well, following an eating plan, showing up places on time. These little skills that you develop by throwing yourself into something that you love, these are the things that have sustained me while I've been over in Europe as a full-time closer doing 6 figures. These little skills are what have developed me to this person I am now. And the micro actions in your day, those little micro decisions, the delayed gratification is so, so important. So I spent about, probably three years just going all in on my training and competing nationally. But I kind of knew I kind of knew that I wasn't really going to take it anywhere, but I knew that what I was doing was at least a positive change from where I was. And then after some time, when I started to understand myself, because by throwing yourself into something, you start to understand yourself more. You can use that activity as an outlet for your character and your personality traits to shine through, because there's a clear, distinct path. And that was really big for me. I started listening to podcasts. I started reading more. Just like little things made this really, really big difference. And, little decisions and actions compound over time. Everything that you do in life matters. It's not just the things you want to matter that matter. It's everything that matters. So going to bed early, right? It's like you can go to the gym, you can read books, but if you're staying up till 2 a.m. every night watching YouTube, you don't think that matters, but it does. Everything that you do matters. And that was really easy for me to see through the sort of gym lens of life, because the basic principles, sleep, hydration, diet, recovery, those things matter so much in such an obvious way. It was much more clear to me now that I'm doing something slightly different, that stuff still matters a lot. So I really had to cut myself off and isolate myself from a massive part of my life for a really, really long time. 3 years, a really long time, but I loved every second of it. And you just need to develop some resilience. It's almost like I put this shield around me. I didn't let anyone in. I didn't have girlfriends. I didn't have anything. It was extremely lonely, but extremely impactful for my life and my future. So I went through these 3 years, and then I started to discover the business side of things. And that is when I kind of got into my SMMA journey and started scaling up my agency. And I got myself to this point where I felt like it was time to make a big change. I'd made lots of little changes, but you need to make the changes, and the decisions need to become bigger and more outsized than the one before, because if they're not, you're not going to be continuing to grow. So I got to this point where I felt confident in myself enough to kind of get on a plane and move over to Europe with my agency. And the only thing that kept me together in those first few months, and I've said this a million times, the only thing that kept me together was those micro habits and the consistency in my life that I developed for the 3 or 4 years prior to the move. That was what kept me together, because I had a deeper understanding of myself, even though I was still in pain and it was still hard, but I could always fall back on some core foundational principles. Right now, another thing that really helped me actually was going to therapy. And the best thing that I got out of therapy was developing a set of values. Okay, so mine are strength, kindness, curiosity, openness, and grit. 5 values clearly defined that I filter every decision, every life experience, everything through these set of values. And the core values, the core principles of my life and myself and what I wanted to, you don't have to have a clear vision. I had no idea I was going to become a closer, but I had principles that I wanted to follow. And I got very fortunate, because I used to always use the word luck. I used to always say I got lucky with this job, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I actually honestly believe that we create our own luck. And I created this situation by making the move, by putting myself out there, by not fearing other people's opinions of me and being different. And that helped me so much. And that shield was still there. And then, I was able to get through. And then, becoming a closer was extremely difficult. It was super hard. It was harder than I expected. It was really competitive. But I always had the core principles and the foundations and those little micro actions to fall back on every day. to keep some consistency in my life when everything else was changing. Because consistency in the little things is what you can fall back on when everything else feels like it's falling apart around you. And I could always just get up and do the things that I always did, and that would give me comfort that I was going in the right direction. And nothing really clicked until sort of January this year. And now I'm in the position where I'm basically, I spent a whole month in Dubai with Charlie in January. I'm on a plane every other month to London or somewhere in Europe or wherever I'm going. I'm just living this unbelievably amazing life right now. And I honestly have to pinch myself because it has not made me happy. I have achieved all of the goals that I said would make me happy. I have achieved all of the goals I said would make me happy, and I'm still not happy. And I said this in the last video, happiness is not the goal. I thought by moving to Europe and all this sort of shit would make me more happy, but that is not the point. You want to, at the very least, you just want to feel proud of the things that you're doing and the effort that you're putting in. And I realize that the goalposts are always going to be shifting, but that is okay because I have the consistency in my life and the frame and the values to pursue the things that I want to pursue. And I just think if you can take anything from this video, is that I am average. I am an average person. I really, really am. I am just a normal person who has figured it out to a point where now I can say that I'm in a position that so many people would want to be in. And my life is awesome. I'm literally about to get on a plane this evening to London to go see the team and all this sort of stuff, see my friends, work from London. I've got the money to do that. And if you want that in your life, I promise you're not going to get there by buying a course or starting an SMMA unless you address what is really going on in your life. And it all starts with you. It's all about the responsibility. Everything that's happened to you in your life is your fault. And I use the word fault to really wake you up, to wake myself up. I always thought that, back in the day, the thing that really tips me over the edge was I got dumped by my long-term girlfriend, and that really sent me into drugs. And I always was like, oh, it's not my fault. She sucked. Her friends hated me. That's why she broke up with me. But it was obviously my fault. It was all my responsibility. Every bad thing that has happened to me has been my fault, and it's my responsibility. And that has really helped me moving forward in my life. So now it's and I want to do when I get back from London, I want to do a day in the life to kind of show you what it looks like and the little things that I do to kind of do this. But I just want to give someone else the confidence to just pursue something bigger. But it has to start with the little things. Right? You're not going to be playing in the NFL unless you can catch a ball. It's as simple as that. So that's kind of, my story, right? It's really very much like a degenerate who was really going nowhere fast. And I kind of even just considered packing up university and working at my parents' shop for the rest of my life and just calling it a day. Hoping I was going to meet someone, have a couple of kids and settle down and be happy that way. But I was never going to be happy that way because my happiness was going to depend on someone else. And that is a really, really bad spot to be. If your happiness is dependent on someone else, you've got no control over your life at all. You can't even control your basic feelings and emotions from yourself. You have to rely on someone else, and it's just never going to work. And I think most people end up there. And it is kind of sad in my opinion. So if I can go from that and just the utter despair and pain that I was feeling to where I am now, just by consistently following steps and not caring about anyone else's opinion, so can you. 100%. You're going to lose friends. People are going to think you're weird. People might even hate you. But it's all a reflection on themselves. As clear as day. It's always a projection. I used to be so angry and I used to hate so many people because they always had something that I didn't, and I would just boil it down to me hating them and I always put it on them, whereas it's always on you. It's always on you. It's always been on me. And it's always been on you, and it's always going to be on you forever. And you can't really control what's going to happen in the future. I've got really no idea where this is going to take me, but what can I control? My values, my habits, my decisions, and my response to things that happen in life. That's really it. You can control your response to the things that happen to you in life. So if you're watching this and you like what I've say and you think and you want a life that kind of looks like mine, that's how I got here. That's it. That's all I did. I just looked inwards instead of outwards. That's all I did. I looked at myself instead of others. I looked at me and my choices and my brain and my thought process. And it's not easy. And it's still hard today. You know, I've still struggled. I've still been struggling. But there's this little mindset shifts, little growth skills, little things that you can do to put yourself in the best position moving forward. And then when you feel like you're in a good spot personally, make a decision that scares the shit out of you and everyone else around you. Because if it scares you, it's probably the right decision. So yeah, next video, I'm going to make a day in the life. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like to be a closer, the routines and habits that I have. And yeah, I think it's going to be good.